Hello, 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 hello. Happy Tuesday. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, John. Good morning, Sterling. Thank you for putting in the news and Powell's testimony. Right now, he's testifying in front of Congress. Good morning, Jake. I'm not going to go through all the comments. So, where do we? Bullstrike, Cheetah, good morning. All right. I'm just scanning through here. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Anissa. Where else? Redbook came out. 4.5 produced 5.2. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Martinez. Good morning, Harold. So yeah, we have the ceasefire broken. Now is it back in place? What are the terms of the ceasefire? Has that been published? Has anybody seen where the terms? I was looking for it. I can't find the terms because there's normally terms associated with a ceasefire. Hello, Charles, but both, well, who knows? It doesn't matter because it's buy everything again. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Heinrich. Again, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So we had Redbook. More important, we have Powell testimony right now. Also, Trump calling for 2 to 3% lower. So right now we're at 4.25 to 4.5. Trump wants it 1.25 to 1.5 to 2.25 to 2.5. Oh boy, not cut. I mean, let's just take 2 to 3 points straight off of there. Oh boy. Yeah, and we had Bowman. Bowman's also applying for the next Fed chair yesterday. So both Bowman and Wall are throwing their hat in the ring, saying we should cut. Good morning, Daniel. All right. Other than that, let's see what Hammock says. And again, Powell's testimony is going on. What else? We got Richmond Fed Index. We got Williams speaking. We got Kashkari speaking. We got Collins speaking. After the close, we got Barr speaking. Wow, we got everything from the Fed today. Lots to digest. We still have. I mean, tariffs have been put on the back burner, but that's still something we got to pay attention to once that starts coming up. We have the supposed broken ceasefire that's back in place. Who knows? All we can do is follow the patterns, though, because that's all I can do, and we'll start looking at that. Well, we'll look at crude. Yes, it did. I was waiting for that. It did trigger a percent beat buy in the daily at the close yesterday. It blew up the trigger double top, and the rotation zone held. And that was the first market I was going to cover actually this morning. Sterling, you're reading my mind. You've become too good at this, and yes, that's why you use stops, and that's why nothing's guaranteed. Okay, but you spotted the percent beat buy. And then we've got follow through off that percent beat buy. When things change, you got to change with them. You can't get married to a position. You take your loss and you move on, and you notice the percent beat buy. And we'll take a look at that. This is a good learning opportunity. It's buy everything except for oil. I should buy it all except for oil. Look at that green everywhere. It looks like springtime with all that green. Consumer cyclical technology comm services leading the way, only energy lagging, based off of crude's big reversal. Oh, and basic materials lagging. Fed watch still has an 83% chance for a pause in July, and then still the cut in September and a cut in October. Fear and greed back to greed mode. Schiller PE dirt cheap 36.72. Buy it all. How this is going to end well. So we got FedEx after the close. Did not look at Carnival Cruise Lines this morning. Did anybody check that out? FedEx after the close. Really want to see what their guidance is. And tomorrow we got General Mills before the open. I'm actually curious on Winnebago because that's, I don't think their earnings are going to be good, but I want to see what they do. Luxury item. A lot of people have cut back, so I'm really curious, not from a trading perspective, but from a more let's have insight into the economy perspective with Winnebago. And tomorrow after close, we got Micron. All right, let's take a look at those spiders first. Let me look at those spiders first because that's where we zoom in. We had against the rotation zone, so it was a slightly lower probability, but still completely valid. off the table now based off where it's going to open, but sterling did notice it. Percent B buy. So you see down here, you see it was below zero and we closed above the high. And now we're getting the follow through. We actually closed at 615. So if you flipped around and bought, you're opening well up. Or at least if you use that to eliminate the short position. So that was key there. Or at least put some hedge on your short position. So what are we looking for now? Let's go back to the S&P real quick. Because let's look at the bigger picture. Up against a multiple top area. If it does manage to break out, we're an overbought, but this market does not, I mean, it's rushing into everything. So we don't have another sell set up right now. We do not have another sell set up. Hold on one second. Oh, boy. All right. So we break above 61.6650. We're looking, the next key target is 63.33. So we go from 6166 to 6333. There must be some numerology and magic in there somehow. So that would be the next key target on a breakout. Have we broken out yet? No, we have not. And I need to see it sustain something above 61.66, not just eking out a new high. I need it to at least prove it can retain that high, and then I will be looking 63.33. If it goes beyond that, it's 6,500. That's based off the harmonic, and those are the reverse harmonics. So those are the key targets for any upside breakout. In the short term, we've already run pretty far, pretty quick. We got some key resistance right here, right around 61.55 to 61.66, trading 61.19 right now. Okay. On any pullback, your key support now is roughly 6,100. That was prior resistance area based off key closes, and we broke through that yesterday. So that's your pullback level. On a more substantial pullback level, it would be 60.72, 60.75. But that's what I'm looking for right there. God, I can't fight this now. NASDAQ, bigger picture. The all-time highs was 22,425.75. The high today, 22,384. So we're trading above the key closes right now. And so 22,425 would be key. On a continued move above that and confirming that that's now confirmed support, which it hasn't broken above that yet, the levels will be 23,171, 23,917. So roughly 23,170, 23,900. Back to overbought conditions. In the short term, right now, in the short term, 22,175, 22,177 is support on a pullback, and the major support level is about 22,050. So those are the key support levels. Have you ever read Annie Duke's book? No, I have not. Elaborate, Jake. Dow. Now the Dow also, finally, yesterday closing still within it, today breaking out. So now it has to show that it can hold. It can hold roughly about this 43,000 level. That was the key resistance. Key resistance, especially on a closing basis, is broken above there. You can see even back here. So now we have to see what that is in the next major cluster, 44,000 to 44,160. 44,162 is the magnet price. What else do we have? Russell. Russell trying to break above his prior closing resistance, still above it right now. We have a very key overhead resistance of the 200. So going to be paying attention to this. It has to confirm, though, this 2160 level remains now support and doesn't drop back below that. But there is massive overhead resistance at that 200 area where it spiked out before. VIX dropping substantially. Again, no fear in this market. The DAX, now I was looking for a rollover sells with the rotation zone. Looks like we're going to close back above it. And so, next key thing I need is the close above 23,954, and then we may retest the highs into the weekly rotation zone. And by the way, on the DAX, yeah, last week's high set up a %B buy. So that was key. We broke above it. Now it's got to finish the week off above that level. So in short term, I got to remain in bullish mode on the DAX. And looking even on pullbacks, as long as we don't drop back substantially below about 23.5. I got anything would be pullbacks and be still looking for buys because we could be triggering a %B buy on that on a weekly basis after the rotation zone. Yields breaking down yesterday. Rotation zone starting to separate, going back to now test key resistance. So it's going to be interesting there to see if it regains key resistance or it stalls out here and then rolls over. Really, I can't get overly bearish until we get below this little shelf right here. Then we'd be in a clear path move. Bearish on yields. That would be bullish on the notes, which we topped out yesterday at the little key resistance point. Going to be watching now at 111.03 if it holds support around there, but can't get overly bullish on this until we get above 111.19. Crude. This technically, the 4-hour was invalidated, but technically is a sloppy daily double. I did post this on Slice yesterday. 65.26. We've hit that target now, 63.20, and then 61.14. So there's your big reversal. I am really focused on, I'll tell you right now, 63.96 to 63.20. Natty gas, which I was watching to see if we held support. We did not. Closing in the rotation zone, now breaking down, so there's nothing else. I'm now watching for further pullbacks in the support on natty gas. Gold, we broke down. Remember, it was either a breakout or a breakdown. Broke down, so now my target's back to the 50. And there's a pretty good support ledge right here, right at the 50. So what the breakdown target for me is, minor was 33.16, but the key target, at least that's for a stop reduction, key target is 32.95 to 3,300. Silver, looking to see... Going to be watching this. This is technically now a triple bottom. Going to be watching, though, a break above here and see if tomorrow, though, if we set up a %B buy with the rotation zone. Nothing yet. Being patient there. Copper tried to break out, still trading at key resistance. Right there with the doji. Dollar index. We did not with the... Yesterday, with what the markets did, celebrating the ceasefire and everything, I was watching for it to close above the rotation zone. It did not. Remember, it has to be based on a closing basis. It's opened, spiked above there, and gapped out, and then reversed strongly. The only thing now that will make me bullish in the short term is if we are in technical double bottom territory. So that is the only thing now based off yesterday's price action. I was looking for buy setups, but it did not hold. The only thing now is if we trigger that double. That is the only thing. So it's called Thinking in Bets, all about the decision making and probabilities. She's a PhD in psychology and WSOP champion. Fantastic so far. Well, thank you for that. Thinking in Bets. All right. So based off Jake's recommendation, I have not read it yet, but I'm sure it's an excellent book. I'll have to look that up after this live stream. As the more you can learn to think in probabilities, okay, and in trade expectancies, which is your probability times your reward to risk ratio, the better off you'll be. Now, Euro, stopping, rotation zone held, stopping out the double top. So, there we go. This actually making a potentially bigger double top on this, because this now that has to be on a daily basis, but nothing yet. If it did trigger again, it would be in conjunction with this, with the double. Now remember, a 4 hour can turn into a daily, and sometimes they happen against these rotation zones. Now look, if this were to trigger, the rotation zone would be out of the way. Do we know that's going to happen? No. Else trading would be really easy. Yen, another big reversal. Yesterday, back below key resistance with cycles rolling over, so nothing yet to do in the yen because it's coming back into major consolidation. Spiders, right now trading 604.67. The upside targets, 605.06, 606.71, 608.31, then 609.76. Now the futures are possibly breakout to new highs, but look at the spiders. Okay? They have a lot of heavy lifting still to do. By the way, RSP, equal weight. Compare where the spiders are, how close they are in terms of getting to their all-time highs versus RSP, which is equal weight. So what does that tell us? The mega caps have been leading this charge higher more so than broad-based. Yes, this is rallying a bit today, but look how far off its highs back from last November versus the spiders, which highs were in February. And it's in shooting distance of those highs, where the RSP, not close yet. So again, and you can see it rushing back into names like, NVIDIA's now rushing back in, Broadcom's rushing back in, Tesla. We'll take a look at more yesterday. Insane price action with the options. All right. The Qs, which never did trigger the double, is invalidated. Never triggered the double like the spiders did. Invalidated. What are the next key levels? They're minor levels. I'm using the reverse harmonics. These are the minor levels. So 538.42 and 540.06. The next major level is 552. The all-time high area is right around, I'm looking at it on a closing basis, right around this harmonic area. So I'm paying really close to that harmonic area. All right? So that's where we sit right now. Good morning, Rick. Carnival was a beat. So people cruising. What else do we have? Bitcoin. Remember, it confirmed but not triggered the double. Double still. This looks like it's going to turn into a channeling double, so I'm being very patient on this. We'll be watching to see if there's a shorter term sell setup. But we had cycles at the bottom, being patient. Yesterday was a strong day with a %B buy. So what's interesting enough is Bitcoin's not falling through this morning. All right, Tesla breaking out, hit the 87.5 in this little correction, but still, I cannot get overly bullish on Tesla until it gets above 385.68. This is still the rollover zone where it stalled out before. So, and back to overbought conditions. It did break above the key resistance shelf, and then the targets, I'll put them back on there. The target, I'll put them back on there. The target was the 87.5 right here. You can see this. Let me change the color. There you go. Right there. That was the target on the breakout. So that is essentially done from the short-term trade. And if you're trying to manage something from the long side, I'd be moving up your stop more aggressively, because unless it gets above 385, 868, this is the key rollover zone. Doesn't have to happen today. Again, the momentum's still to the upside. All right, let's just look at Carnival. I've not looked at that in forever. Let's just take a look at that. So it did close above the 62.5, pulled back to its 200, and now look at, taking out the 75, and the next price would be 27. Interesting. Very interesting there. Another thing, I think Restoration Hardware got a downgrade this morning. That's not a good looking chart. Checking in on MO. Remember, this is a long-term play from my perspective. I don't even bother looking at the charts most of the time. But, you know, it actually looks like it's poised to break out too. I mean, we've got a multi-top area. That's going to be interesting. And still paying a $6.74 dividend. P to E, $10. So, I mean, from a longer-term perspective, pulled back in the weekly rotation zone and rotating back up. All right, what else? I don't think there's anything else. Amazon actually, in the short term, just triggered this minor little double yesterday, but let's see. Let's see if it follows through, or if the double bottom plays out. That was my short-term stop level. So we'll just have to see. Amazon, I wouldn't be. Amazon's been one of the weaker ones, though. Remember, with things like Meta, already completed its double. The potential double on Meta, which was confirmed but not triggered, is now invalidated. The rotation zone held. There's not a lot of the bearish setups have failed. So that's why nothing for me to the bear side right now. Nothing to me, unless something comes out of the blue. But again, not much to talk about there. So other than that, let's just peek at this going into the open. So as long as I'll be looking, again, it's 61.15 is key into the open for me, for at least the initial key support. Tested multiple times. So that's going to be key support. All right. That's what we have it. Remember, is Powell's testimony, I don't know when it ends. I'll have to look that up. So, Hood is heading up again. Hood looks like, well, it's never triggered. This is just turning into a wedging double, so doubt it will trigger. Hood is just grinding higher. What's Coin doing? Coin's still up. Bitcoin down, but Coinbase up. Again, remember, magnet price still the 87.5 harmonic. All right, with that, I will wrap it up for today. I will see everybody back tomorrow. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful trading day. Bye for now.